Harder. Say yes to every opportunity and always chase the next upgrade. That's a lie. These are the invisible rules that guarantee you'll hit 40 with regret. Today, we break all seven and shift your focus from accumulation to intentional freedom. This isn't about working harder. It's about breaking the performance mindset that keeps you auditioning for a life you don't even want, leaving you feeling hollowed out and constantly behind. Ready to stop the clock? Let's start with the biggest lie you've been sold. Rule 1. Break the more time trap. Time scarcity isn't a limitation, it's your ultimate liberation. When you truly grasp that your time is finite, every choice carries weight. When you accept that your time is limited, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. Think about the mathematical reality. If you live to 80, you have roughly 2,000 weekends left. Suddenly, that committee meeting you joined out of obligation becomes a ridiculous trade for 1/2000th of your remaining freedom. Think about that committee meeting you joined 3 years ago. You attend once a month for 2 hours. That's 24 hours a year. Over the next 40 years, that's 960 hours, nearly 40 full days of your remaining life, spent in a room where you don't want to be, discussing things that don't matter to you. One yes 3 years ago is now costing you 40 days of freedom you'll never get back. This isn't morbid thinking, it's prioritization thinking. The shift isn't from bad time management to good time management. It's from time management to attention management. Quality of hours always beats quantity of hours. You stop trying to fit more into your day and start asking which activities deserve a place in your limited inventory of days. Scrolling through social media for the third time today isn't relaxation. It's literally time you'll never get back. Think about this. Those 12 minutes you spend scrolling could be the exact time needed to call someone you love, write a meaningful journal entry, or make progress on a side project. Your 20-year-old self had time to waste. Your 30-year-old self knows better. Time scarcity transforms mindless consumption into intentional living. Every minute becomes a conscious choice rather than an unconscious drift. Understanding your limits eliminates decision paralysis. When you know you don't have infinite amounts of anything, every yes becomes powerful because every no protects something irreplaceable. This urgency without panic is the gift of breaking the more time myth. It eliminates decision paralysis and lets you stop saving your best energy for someday and start using it for today. But here's the thing. Even when you finally understand your time is limited, you're still not free. Why? Because you're chasing the wrong things. Rule 2. Master the principle of sufficient ambition. But here's the real reason you're still feeling empty even after hitting your goals. You're trapped on the hedonic treadmill.
The key to stepping off isn't more ambition, it's a single, radical concept that most people only discover after their midlife crisis. It's called the principle of sufficient ambition. Here's the trap: you achieve one goal, and immediately the finish line moves. More will never satisfy. You're always chasing, never arriving. The real midlife crisis isn't buying a sports car, it's realizing you don't actually want one. Your 30s are when you discover the most radical concept in a culture obsessed with growth: enough. Not more. Not better. Enough. This isn't just a financial concept. It's the moment you realize the anxiety of more was heavier than the joy of enough. This is where you become financially revolutionary. You finally have enough experience to recognize the difference between wanting and needing, between upgrading and improving. The house that seemed too small suddenly feels perfectly sized when you realize bigger means more cleaning, higher taxes, and less money for experiences. Enough isn't about settling. It's about recognizing the abundance you already have. You define your personal enough number for income, possessions, and status. Lifestyle inflation is the silent killer of freedom because it forces you to maintain a higher income just to sustain a lifestyle you don't even enjoy. Optimization beats accumulation every time. Freedom doesn't come from climbing higher on a ladder everyone else is on, it comes from knowing when to step off and build your own structure. This next part is the most financially revolutionary choice you can make.
You're scrolling through luxury home tours on Instagram. 5 years ago, this was your dream. The marble countertops, the walk-in closet, the statement kitchen. But as you scroll, you realize something. You don't actually want this. You want the idea of wanting this. You want to be the kind of person who has this. And that distinction between wanting something and wanting to be seen as someone who wants it is where the hedonic treadmill finally breaks. You're looking at a kitchen renovation that costs more than your first car. The old you would have financed it to keep up. The new you asks, will this actually make me happier or just make my house look like a magazine? Suddenly, upgrading the appliances and keeping the extra $20,000 for travel sounds infinitely more appealing. Here's the strategic choice. Person A finances the full renovation, locking themselves into their current job to maintain payments. Person B invests that $20,000, creating financial optionality that lets them negotiate a 4-day work week within 2 years. You realize that experiences appreciate while possessions depreciate. The enough principle eliminates the trap of working a job you hate to pay for things you don't need. When you know what's sufficient, you can optimize for optionality instead of just more. Rule 3. Embrace the power of strategic subtraction. If you've broken the accumulation trap, your next challenge is protecting that new freedom. Most people optimize their morning routine, but the true superpower of your 30s is optimizing your no routine. Every yes you give has a hidden cost, and it's far more expensive than you think. While everyone else is optimizing their morning routine, you need to optimize your no routine. Your superpower isn't saying yes to more opportunities, it's saying no to the wrong ones. Selectivity becomes strategy. This is where you become beautifully ruthless. Every yes you give is a no to your future self. It's a no to your energy, your focus, and your highest priorities. It feels terrifying at first. You worry about the awkward silence, the disappointment in their voice, or the fear of missing out. But that fear is a lie. You develop the ability to say no without extensive justification, without guilt, without elaborate excuses. No, that doesn't align with my priorities right now, period. The people who matter will respect your boundaries. The people who don't respect your boundaries don't matter. Strategic refusal isn't selfish, it's essential for protecting what you've worked to build. Energy vampires and vague obligations have a massive opportunity cost. Sarah said yes to the volunteer committee, then yes to mentoring a junior colleague, then yes to organizing the team lunch rotation, then yes to the weekend networking event. Each yes felt small. Each one was just this one time. But 5 years later, Sarah is spending 15 hours a week on commitments that don't move her toward her actual goals. She's exhausted, resentful, and can't remember the last time she had a free Saturday. The tragedy? She never consciously chose this life. She just never said no. That's the tragedy of never saying no. You don't wake up one day and realize your life is gone. You just wake up one day and realize it was never really yours to begin with. If this hit you, hit that like button. It helps this message reach people who need to hear it. So here's what changes. Someone asks you to join another committee. Without this permission, Sarah kept saying yes until she had no life left. Your new self asks, will this move me toward my actual goals or just make me look busy? When the answer is clearly the latter, you respond with confidence. I'm honored you thought of me, but I can't commit the time this deserves right now as I'm protecting my focus for my highest priority goals. This isn't rejection, it's strategic curation. Boundaries are benefits, not barriers. They protect your most valuable resources, your attention and your energy, for your highest priorities. When you stop saying yes to everything that is good, you create the space for everything that is great. This strategic subtraction is the foundation upon which a meaningful life is built. It's the art of clearing the deck so the right things can land. Rule 4. Your body is not a battery. Managing your energy is completely different from managing your time. Your body isn't a battery you can just recharge. It has its own biological rhythms. The exhaustion cycle comes from constantly fighting those natural patterns. Sustainable productivity happens when you align your work with your energy, not an arbitrary schedule. You notice you're sharpest between 10 a.m. and noon, but you keep scheduling administrative calls during that window. Your new approach? Guard those golden hours for your most important work. Batch the mundane tasks for your natural energy valleys. The result? You finish your best work in 2 focused hours instead of struggling through 8 distracted ones. This isn't laziness, it's optimization. Working with your biology instead of against it means you accomplish more by doing less. The bottom line? Stop fighting your biology. Start optimizing it. Rule 5. The anti-fragile income law. Now, let's talk about money. Most people think their peak earning years are about climbing the corporate ladder for a bigger paycheck. That's a mistake. The anti-fragile income law proves that one type of career move is 5 times more valuable than a salary bump. It's about choosing the jungle gym over the ladder. Income without wisdom is just expensive lifestyle inflation. Your peak earning years aren't about upgrading your car because you can afford it. They're about understanding opportunity cost. This is where you build the financial optionality promised by breaking the accumulation trap. The skills and connections you gain matter more than your paycheck right now. Think of your career like a jungle gym. You can move in any direction, not a ladder where you're stuck climbing one way. Marcus turned down a $120,000 offer from a Fortune 500 company to take an $85,000 role at a startup where he'd work directly with the founder. 5 years later, he'd learned product strategy, fundraising, and how to scale a team. When the startup was acquired, his equity stake was worth $2.3 million. His former classmate who took the $120,000 job, still making $150,000 at the same company, with no equity and no optionality. Marcus's choice to prioritize career capital over immediate compensation created a 15 times difference in wealth. You want to build optionality, skills, networks, and financial runway, not just a higher salary. The goal isn't to live like you make more money. It's to save like you understand what money actually buys. Freedom, not stuff. In 10 years, that choice compounds into early retirement optionality while others are still making payments on depreciating assets. Strategic earning creates the foundation for every future choice. You've optimized your time. You've built financial freedom. You've climbed the career ladder. But here's what nobody tells you. None of it matters if you're doing it alone. The people around you aren't a distraction from your goals. They're the whole point. Rule 6. The relationship portfolio paradox. We spend our early years collecting connections, then realize we only need a few truly good ones. Quality decisively beats quantity. Your social energy is finite. This is about strategic curation. Investing deeply in relationships that give you an energy return, not just a historical connection. That friend who only calls to complain? Every conversation with them costs you emotional energy you could spend on people who actually lift you up. Protect that energy fiercely. It's the only battery you can't recharge. Invest deliberately in the connections that energize every conversation. Your inner circle should charge your battery, not drain it. Protect that energy fiercely. Rule 7. Stop treating emotions as malfunctions. Finally, let's address the most misunderstood part of your life, your emotions. You've been taught to suppress them, but that's like ignoring a fire alarm. Your frustration, anxiety, and even joy aren't distractions, they're data. And learning to read your internal weather system is your ultimate competitive advantage. Your emotions aren't distractions, they're data. They're your internal weather system, giving you critical information about your environment and needs. Stop trying to suppress them and start learning to read them. When a project stalls and you feel intense frustration, that's not a malfunction, it's a signal. The frustration is telling you the system is broken, not the people. You're in a meeting and feel a wave of anxiety every time your boss mentions a specific project. Your old instinct: push through it, ignore the feeling, prove you can handle it. Your new instinct: pause and ask yourself what the anxiety is signaling. You realize it's not the project itself, it's that you don't trust the person leading it. Instead of ignoring that data, you speak up. I'm concerned about the leadership on this one. Turns out, 3 other team members felt the same way. By listening to your emotional data, you prevented a project disaster and saved the team 6 months of wasted effort. Pattern recognition here is your competitive advantage. Advanced emotional intelligence means understanding what your frustration, anxiety, or joy is telling you about a situation, then responding strategically instead of reacting impulsively. When you stop fighting your feelings and start listening to them, you unlock a profound sense of peace. Your internal conflict finally ends. You've learned to protect your time. You've defined enough. You've mastered the power of no. You've aligned your energy with your biology. You've built career capital. You've curated your relationships. And now you understand your emotions as data. These aren't 7 separate rules. They're one integrated system. Which of these 7 rules hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and it helps me know which topics to go deeper on next. Conclusion and call to action. These 7 rules aren't isolated tips. They're one integrated system that compounds when you implement them together. Master one rule, and the others become easier. Implement all 7, and you've architected a life where every choice supports the others. They shift you from a performance mindset to intentional freedom. The compound advantage starts the moment you implement just one. Your move is to pick the single rule that hit the hardest, whether it's mastering the principle of enough or embracing strategic subtraction, and test it for 7 days. If you're ready to stop auditioning and start building a life